Welcome to the class of endocrinology and reproduction. Endocrinology is the science that deals with transfer of information by certain kind of chemical substance called hormones. The hormones are the chemical substance secreted by a special kind of glands called endocrine glands. So in this endocrinology we are going to study about the endocrine glands, types of endocrine glands and types of hormones. What are the hormones secreted by a different kind of glands and what are the roles of those hormones and what are the diseases and disorders caused due to under and hyper secretions of these hormones. In today's session, let us discuss about autocrine and paracrine secretions. Before going for the main concept, let us know the process of communication. Communication is the process of conveying a messages from one body to the another body. It involves three components, namely the sender, and second component is the information, and third component is the receiver. The sender sends the messages, the receiver receives the messages, and the information is nothing but a message. At cellular level, the sender is also a cell, the receiver is cell or a tissue or an organ, and the information is carried by a certain kind of chemical substances. At cellular level, those chemical substances are called signaling molecules. Coming to the concept of cell signaling, so the cell signaling is a process of transformation of messages from a sender cell to a receiver cells through a chemical molecules or chemical substances. The sender cell is called secretory cell and the receiver cell is called target cell. The messages are conveyed through a special kind of chemical molecules called signaling molecules or ligands, or it also called as hormones. The importance of cell signaling is this is to provide a coordination required for the functionality of multicellular organisms. So this diagram explains the process of communication. Communication is nothing but a transformation of information from one cell to the another cell. The cell which sends the message is called secretory cells, and the cell which receives the message is called target cell. The messages are conveyed through a special kind of chemicals called signaling molecules or hormones or chemical substances. The second diagram explains the importance of the cell signaling. Here the chemical signals or a signaling molecules is responsible for the secretions of other kind of glands or hormones. Okay, the role of the chemical signaling or the importance of chemical signaling is it stimulates the release of certain kind of hormones, that is called secretion. It also involves in eliciting the metabolism. It also involves in contraction of a certain kind of muscles or tissues. The chemical signaling involves in eliciting the cell growth or cell division. It also involved in excitability. So these are the importance of cell signaling. Coming to the types of cell signaling, there are mainly three kind of cell signaling. One is paracrine signaling, the second one is autocrine signaling, and the third one is endocrine signaling. The paracrine signaling refers to the cells communicate with the neighboring cell. Such kind of signaling is called paracrine signaling. Here the cells communicate over relatively short distances. The cells are locally coordinated with the neighboring cells. So such kind of signaling is called paracrine signaling. The paracrine cells secrete certain kind of chemical substance. They are referred as paracrine secretions. The examples for paracrine signaling is synaptic transmission in neurons. So this is the example for neural transmission. So here we can see two kind of cells. One is the presynaptic cell, the lower one is called postsynaptic cell. There is a space between presynaptic cell and postsynaptic cell, so that is called synaptic cleft. So it's a short distance. The presynaptic cells secrete certain kind of chemical substance called neurotransmitters, and they were released to the extracellular fluid. From the extracellular fluid or synaptic cleft, those neurotransmitters get binds to the receptors present on a postsynaptic neuron and elicit the response. So this is called neural transmission by a chemical molecules. Here the distance between two neurons is very short, hence there will be quick response between the two neurons. Coming to the properties of paracrine signaling, as I said, they elicit the quick response due to short distance between two cells. They are going to elicit a quick response, and the response lasts for a short duration because to convey the next message, the response lasts only for a short duration. The enzymes present in a extracellular fluid or matrix, they are going to degrade the chemical signaling molecules. The other examples for paracrine signaling is synaptic transmission in neurons, histamines produce or which mediates the inflammation, insulin like growth factor that was produced in the liver cells which stimulates the neighboring cells, and bone morphogenic protein produced by a kidney. So these are all examples for paracrine signaling. The second type of signaling is autocrine signaling. Here the cell secretes a certain kind of secretions, they stimulate the own cell. So such kind of signaling is called autocrine signaling. Auto refers to self. Here the secretory cells release certain kind of secretions. Those secretory cells have receptors for the same secretory molecules. So such kind of signaling is called autocrine signaling. It's also example for self-stimulation. The signaling molecules binds to the receptor of same secretory cell. Hence, it is called autocrine signaling, and those secretions are called autocrine secretions. Example for these kind of autocrine signaling is interleukins 1 produced by a monocyte which stimulates the same monocyte, and interleukins 2, they are also called chemokines produced by T lymphocytes which helps in maturation of T lymphocyte. So these are example for autocrine signaling. This is the picture that explains the autocrine signaling. Here there is a cell which secretes a certain kind of chemical substances. Those chemical substances are called autocrine secretions. These autocrine secretions binds to the receptor of the same secretory cell or secreting cell. Hence it is called self-stimulatory cells or autocrine signaling. And the last kind of cell signaling is endocrine signaling. There are certain kind of specialized epithelial cells in our body called endocrine glands. They are going to secrete a certain kind of chemical substance called ligands or hormones. These secretions were released to the vascular system. The vascular system carries those secretions to the target organs, or the target organs or target cells are located at a distant region. So the endocrine signaling is a type of signaling in which the secretory cells releases the chemicals to the vascular system. The vascular system carries chemicals to the distant target cell. So the endocrine signaling occurs between distant cells. The secretory molecules are called hormones. The endocrine signaling shows very slower responses, but it is a long lasting. Examples for endocrine signaling is all endocrine glands in our body like a pituitary, pancreas, adrenal gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland and gonads. So these are all examples for endocrine signaling. So coming to the summary of this session. So in this session we have learned about the kinds of signaling, kinds of cell signaling. Cell signaling refers to the transformation of information from one cell to the another cell through a certain kind of chemicals called signaling molecules. There are three kind of signaling. One is autocrine signaling, in which a cell stimulates itself. The second is the paracrine signaling, in which the sender cell sends a message to a neighboring cell. And the third kind of signaling is endocrine signaling, in which there is a long distance or gap between two cells. That's a sender cell as well as the receiver cell.